Thanks for watching this video, proudly brought to you by AN Immigration Services and Consulting. Please ensure that you watch this video at high resolution for best video quality, as we are going to walk through the application process and the eligibility criteria in applying for a subclass 500 student visa from the 10th of May 2024. This visa lets you visit Australia to participate in a course of study. The information in this video is for general guidance on matters of interest only. It is not intended to be comprehensive, and they do not constitute and must not be relied on as immigration advice. Please seek specific immigration advice tailored to your circumstances from a registered migration agent. Many hours of work have been spent on depicting the complex legislative requirements in full for this visa in a format that visa applicants can follow and understand easily and visually. Please subscribe to our channel, like and share this video. Let us be part of your journey in Australia and support you throughout this journey. Let's start. The red lines in this flow chart are answers no to the question in a decision step. Please commence from start at the top. Answer the question in each decision step. Follow the direction of the arrows to guide yourself through the detailed application process and the eligibility criteria. There are 2 steps in applying for this visa. The first step is to submit a valid visa application. If your application is not valid, your application will not be considered even if you satisfy all eligibility criteria. There are very limited circumstances in which you can submit a paper application. If you are authorized to submit a paper application, please ensure that you follow strictly the instructions from the authorizing email sent by the department. If you are under 18 at the time of application and you intend to reside with a parent, a custodian or a suitable relative, you need to lodge an internet application using Form 157A together with Form 157N, which is a form for nominating a student guardian. Other applicants will lodge an internet application using Form 157A. You will need to pay a visa application charge of $710 at the time of application. This amount is valid as of the 10th of May 2024. You can either apply for this visa in or outside Australia. You need to provide evidence of your intended course of study or activities related to your study in Australia, depending on which cohort you belong to. If you are a foreign affairs student or defense student, you need to provide a letter of support from the foreign minister or the defense minister respectively. If you are a secondary exchange student, you need to provide an acceptance advice for secondary exchange student form. For majority of the applicants, they need to provide a confirmation of enrollment number which has not been cancelled or revoked by their education providers. The confirmation of enrollment number can be verified by the department in the Provider Registration and International Student Management System. If you are not issued with a confirmation of enrollment number and currently in Australia, a letter of offer which has not been cancelled or revoked is required from your education provider. If you apply outside Australia, a letter of offer is not acceptable as evidence of enrollment. For some applicants who are required to remain in Australia during the marking of their postgraduate theses, they need to provide a letter to that effect from their relevant education providers. If you will be under 18 at any time while you remain in Australia on a student visa, you need to provide evidence of intended arrangements for your accommodation, support and general welfare. If you intend to reside with a parent, custodian or a relative, a properly completed Form 157N, nomination of student guardian, can be used as evidence. If your welfare arrangement is provided by your education provider, a confirmation of appropriate accommodation and welfare letter issued in the provider registration and international student management system is acceptable evidence. If you apply in Australia, you need to hold a substantive temporary visa. A substantive visa means a visa other than a bridging visa or a criminal justice visa or an enforcement visa. Your current temporary visa must not be one of the following specified visas. These specified visas are: Subclass 426 Domestic Worker Temporary Visa, Subclass 403 Temporary Work, International Relations, Visa in the Domestic Worker, Diplomatic or Consular, Stream Only, Subclass 995 Diplomatic, Visa granted to you as a primary visa holder. Subclass 771, Transit, Visa or Subclass 600, Visitor, Visa in the Sponsored Family Stream or Approved Destination Status Stream. If you apply in Australia without holding a substantive visa, you need to meet the following criteria. The last substantive visa held by you must be a student visa, or a special purpose visa, or a subclass 995 diplomatic visa granted on the basis of you being a spouse, de facto partner or a dependent relative of the diplomatic or consular representative. The visa application must be made within 28 days after the day when your last substantive visa ceased to be in effect, or if your last substantive visa was cancelled, and the Administrative Appeals Tribunal set aside and substituted the cancellation decision or the Department's decision not to revoke the cancellation. The visa application must be made within 28 days after the later of the date of the notification from the tribunal or the date when your last substantive visa ceased to be in effect. You must not have previously been granted a visa on the basis of an application made when you did not hold a substantive visa. It means that you can only apply for a student visa once when you do not hold a substantive visa. The second step is to meet all eligibility criteria at the time of decision. You need to be a genuine student. The Australian government has replaced the genuine temporary entrant requirement for student visas with a genuine student requirement. This is effective for student visa applications lodged on and after 23 March 2024. All applicants for a student visa must be a genuine applicant for entry. They must stay as a student and be able to show an understanding that studying in Australia is the primary reason of their student visa. The genuine student requirement is intended to include students who, after studying in Australia, develop skills Australia needs and who then go on to apply for permanent residence. There are 5 cohorts of students who can apply for this visa. These cohorts are foreign affairs student, defense students, secondary exchange students, students with their postgraduate theses being marked by their education providers and any other students. Majority of the visa applicants come under the any other students cohort who are required to be enrolled in a full-time registered course. There is a government website where you can check whether the course you are enrolled in is a registered course for international students. We have put the link at the end of this video. There are English language proficiency requirements for applying for a student visa unless you are exempted. There are different ways in which you can be exempted from the English language requirements. The first exemption. If you are a citizen of, passport holder of the following countries, Canada, New Zealand, the Republic of Ireland, the United Kingdom or the United States of America. The second exemption. The only course of study enrolled for your student visa is a course to be delivered in a language other than English, an ELICOS, a registered school course or a registered postgraduate research course. The third exemption. You are a foreign affairs student, a defense student or a secondary exchange student. The fourth exemption. In the 2 years immediately before application, you have successfully completed the requirements for a senior secondary certificate of education in a course in English and in Australia, or you have successfully completed a substantial component of a course at the Certificate 4 level or higher in English and in Australia. The last exemption. You have completed successfully a minimum of 5 years of study in English in the following countries: Australia, Canada, New Zealand, South Africa, the Republic of Ireland, the United Kingdom or the United States of America. If you do not come under one of the exemptions we just mentioned, you will need to undertake a specified English test. The specified English test's a test of English as a foreign language internet-based test, Pearson Test of English Academic, Occupational English Test, International English Language Testing System, Cambridge English, Advanced Test. You need to have undertaken the test within 2 years before the student visa application or before a decision to grant or refuse a student visa is made, depending on whether evidence of the test was provided at the time of application. In terms of the scores that are required for your chosen test, you can refer to the English language test scores table we have provided. You must have obtained the scores as shown in column 2, 3 or 4 depending on your enrolled course of study. You also need to have sufficient funds for yourself and any migrating family members during your stay in Australia. The department may require you to demonstrate that you have sufficient funds based on a risk assessment. The risk assessment is influenced by factors such as your country of citizenship and who your education provider is. The financial capacity requirements have been revised upwards effective from the 10th of May 2024. There are 2 legislative instruments which detail the evidence required to demonstrate your financial capacity. We have put the links at the end of this video. You need to have adequate arrangements for health insurance during your intended stay in Australia. Adequate is not defined in migration legislation. For majority of the applicants, this requirement is considered met if you provide evidence of payment of overseas student health cover for the proposed duration of your stay in Australia. If you have been in Australia previously, you need to satisfy the special return criteria. Put simply, you shall not be subject to any restriction which will stop you from making this visa application for a certain period after your last departure from Australia. The restrictions are imposed on you because of the circumstances under which you last departed from Australia. As with many other visas, there are various public interest criteria that you must meet, including health and character requirements. With the health requirement, a health waiver is not available unless you are a foreign affairs student or defense student. If you are enrolled at a primary or secondary school, there is also age requirement depending on the year level of your study. Thanks for walking through the application process and the eligibility criteria with us. Please remember to subscribe to our channel, like and share this video so that we can provide more content to support you.